Mermaid is an exercise that's really working a lot of different things, even though people typically only think about it as a stretch. So number one is we're looking at hip mobility. We've got to be in the Z sit position to do Mermaid, although I'll give you modifications, which is going to work on internal and external rotation of the hips. We also are then looking at trunk stability and mobility, right? We're working into a lateral flexion, so also some rib cage mobility here. And also shoulder placement on the body. So shoulder and scapular stabilization is really important here. And then as we add variation, we're also working rotation and flexion and extension while we're in a lateral flexion. So there's a lot of spinal mobility going on here. And this is just a really great exercise just to mobilize the whole body. So our starting setup is in this Z sit position with one leg bent in front and one leg bent in back with the shins against the shoulder blocks. However, this is not accessible to people. One thing that we can do is prop the dropped hip. So frequently what you'll see is that we've got people that are kind of leaned all over to one leg and there's one hip hiked up. If we put a block underneath the hip that is hiked, it will help level out their hip side to side and give them some more space to work with. But you could also just have them come into just both legs tucked back or do this whole exercise crisscross applesauce. I'm also on typically one spring for Mermaid. You could be on a blue or red. Most of the time we're not going a lot heavier or lighter than that unless you have a reason to. So in our Z-sit position, we place one hand on the foot bar, and you want that hand a little bit in front of the shoulder. If it starts to come behind the shoulder frequently, it'll twist the chest open. So just right towards the front of the foot bar. Other arm comes up long with a soft bend in the elbow, shoulders dropped out of the ears. From here, we want to push out through the shoulder as we dive up and over an imaginary beach ball to side bend to the side, fanning the top ribs open towards the ceiling, and then stack back up nice and tall. And again, we lean over to the side and we come back up. And usually we want to move in and out of that about 3 times. And then on the third one, you can just pause and breathe, really cueing people to breathe into the top ribs, getting this nice stretch. We're grounding the back hip down and into the mat. And then we can start to add our rotation. So from there, we rotate to bring both hands to the foot bar and walk the other hand out wide so they're both equally weighted. If needed, you can cue people here to kind of rotate through the hips a bit to give them some more rotation through the trunk. Once here, we can press out, lengthening the spine nice and long, and then lift up. I always call this a mermaid on a rock moment. It feels like Ariel pushing up out of the water. So we lead with our chest. You get a little back bend, nice, lovely stretch here. And then push back out, still keeping those shoulders in a strong, stable position and out of the ears as we lift up. And then we can also hold this stretch here and start to pull the pelvis underneath us, pulling the ribs up towards the ceiling into a flexion, and then lengthening back out. Scooping through the belly, and then lengthen back out. And then from there, we can pull ourselves back up and in, open back to the front, and then take a little counter stretch back to the back.